My wife and I met on a blind date July of 1978. We were married a year later. We had 3 children, and life was very good to us. We were very blessed. We were very fortunate with health and happiness.
We met when she was 13 and I was 15 years old, and got married in 1985. Have 3 children.
When we met back in college through a friend, it was like a perfect match. So we got married, bought a house. About 7 months later, she was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer.
So it's like 11:30 at night. I take her into the emergency room. They give her this shot. Said, yeah, it probably is a migraine. Just for protocol, whenever we have head issues, we just do a CT scan of your head. We should have those results back in a half hour. You'll be on your way.
In the summer of 1998, she experienced abdominal pain and decided to go to her gynecologist. I took her in for the laparoscope, and it was expecting a half-hour procedure. The half-hour procedure turned into 2 hours.
So the doctor comes walking in, and he is white as a sheet. He says to me, he says, I don't know how to tell you this, but she has a lemon-sized mass on her brain.
With a number of evaluations which led to a diagnosis of stage 3C ovarian cancer.
They did emergency brain surgery. It turned out to be stage 4 glioblastoma multiforme, which is terminal. Their best treatment is to try to minimize its growth and give you a little bit more time.
My wife, Vanessa, is currently in hospice for stage 4 breast cancer that has spread to her brain and her liver and her bones. We thought we'd have our whole life ahead of us.
You get a terminal diagnosis, so the question is when, and what's it going to be like for her? And what's it going to be like for my kids when she's gone? What's it going to be like for me? And you're just living in the fear of this day happening.
You just kind of shut off the feelings and emotions and try to power through with what needs to be done. And that hasn't been the best for me. You got the weight of the world on you. In this situation, I felt like I had to take everything head on, dealing with pills, and it's hard to keep track of which bill goes where and how soon it needs to be paid, and certainly dealing with the insurance companies, even someone to come cut my grass.
Being a caregiver during those types of situations is very stressful. I myself got very sick during the 3-year period. A support system is very important for the caregiver. You get into the unknown of how many treatments for this, how many treatments for that. Can you find people to take your loved one to all of these therapies when you can't physically do all of them?
You know, I hope most people beat their cancer and go on and get to tell the stories about how they survived cancer. But there's a lot of people that are like me, that the person they loved isn't going to beat this. I want to sit face to face with somebody and listen to them and let them cry and say, you know, I'm going to be here for you now, and maybe somehow or other just be able to experience it with them so they're not alone and that they can derive hope from that.
I've been involved in cancer for about the past 15 years as a volunteer and also as a president of Arts Fighting Cancer. I was at an art exhibit, Scar Project, and I bumped into a gentleman named Billy. And it was interesting because I looked into his eyes and I saw there was this sadness and this longing and this wanting. It was heart-wrenching. He told me how they just got married and then she was diagnosed and just what he lives with on a daily basis. I started asking him questions, you know, where do you go, what do you do, how do you deal with it? And he'd say, there's nowhere to go. There's no one to ask for help. I feel alone. But I just knew with Billy, and knowing that there's thousands of Billys out there, that we had to do something. The one thing that we don't have is a center for men. We are an official 501c3, and we're hoping spring of 2014 to open the doors to the very first male cancer support center here in Cincinnati. It's a place of hope for men living with cancer.